Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, gods and goddesses, kings and queens, thugs and thugettes,
Yeah, yeah.
and all of my creatives, and those of you who understand movement and all of that about pinwheel love. I'm Deborah. This is the Debra Show, and it's such a treat again. Today, I have slowed down the elusive Anthony Crawford Jr.
Peace, and love.
Hey, y'all know we did, he opened up, and thank you, Anthony, for opening up uh, the Debra Show, the very first episode or taping of the Debra Show. It was right when the COVID, you know, peaked her head, Rona. Um, and here we are again today. Uh, Many of you can go back onto my YouTube channel and watch the very first episode with Anthony and myself, and he dealt with friendship before love. Starting a relationship where he chose from the 9 questions that the show has. And today we've given him a topic that has nothing to do with the questions. The topic today is pussy is common and virtue is rare. He's going to tell us some more things about himself, and then bring us up to speed. And he's going to set that mood for this menu. It's like a menu. I felt when I read your post, I was like, well, look at him introducing a menu to this topic.
We gotta get people strong on.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, shoot, they talking about that. All right, let me see. Gotta
most
get it hooked.
yeah, most definitely. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us some more about yourself for those who are just now meeting you via the Debra Show, and those of everybody else that may come on that already is familiar with you around the community. So come on with it.
Um, Once again, my name is Anthony Crawford Jr. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I came to Oklahoma in the fall of 2007 to attend Langston University. I graduated in 2012 and decided to stay out here and learn how to become a man. I am an author. I wrote a book called Black Paint. I am a teacher. I teach English at not Northeast. I used to teach at Northeast. I got a book right there. Appreciate you, Oracle. I teach English at Millwood High School. I'm known as a hood teacher because I have taught at Douglas High School. I have taught at Northeast back when Northeast was Northeast before they gentrified it.
Yeah.
And I have, I had some connections and did some mentoring at Centennial High School back when Centennial High School was around. So
Right.
I made my way around the community. Used to have over 5 step teams that I was coaching and mentoring, and youngsters that was a part of that. Got involved into the film again because I grew up writing scripts. So I got involved into the film industry again. Right now, working on a trailer just to push it and campaign for it, just so I can raise some money and pay my actors and pay everybody who's involved with the film and get the film on Netflix, Hulu, all the Prime Videos, all the major streaming networks. I'm a music artist as well, working on my second album. And the first album was on all platforms. It is called Rap, RAP, Rhythm and Poetry. And this next one is going to be called Trap, Traumatizing and Ratchet Ass Poetry. So I'm really looking forward to that. The main thing right now is just keeping myself balanced and learning how to really keep everything afloat. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, yeah, that's some of what's it. I think all of your accomplishments are great. For me, when I think about you and everything that you do, the one that I hold you uh, the highest and most accountable for is the living legends and the young kings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. I
yeah.
appreciate that. You did your homework. young living legends. You know, it's a group of young men who wants to make it in the music industry. So I just look at them as we could be the TDE of the Southwestern region, just how the TDE is who they are on the West Coast.
Right.
So I'm really trying to build them up. And with the Young Kings, it's an entity that is a part of the Crowley Foundation. Every summer and every winter, I go down to Colorado to mentor and facilitate a workshop to youngsters out there. So I make my way around. I'm trying to evolve everybody, not just including myself. You know, we either going to build a fence or we're going to build a longer table. So put this table together.
Right. And that is very vital. You deal a lot with youth, and today's youth are in desperate need of mentors and those who truly are role models, and to just keep it real with them, you know, cause we also call you in the hood, we also call you, crowd out. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned them because you know, our young men, especially young Black men, you know, statistics show that they are 85% who are diagnosed with some type of retardation or IEP or some type of mental illness. So, you know, it's imperative that, you know, it takes brothers like myself and sisters like yourself to get into these schools and really teach them what's really going on and really teach them the truth about who they are. Or, you know, they're going to get lost in the sauce. And we know what society has done to us and what continue to do to us. So and that kind of goes into our topic, you know, pussy is common, but virtue is rare.
And the first thing on the menu is societal issues, and that's what you're bringing out right now.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm reading this book called The Answer by David Icke. I don't know if it's Icke or Icky, but in the book, in the book, he mentions, you know, do you blame the computer or do you blame the manufacturer? You know, in this case, you know, when it comes to society, we are the computers. You know, the Bible, the Quran, they all mention this, the tree, and how the tree can bear bad fruit or good fruit. So we are in this tree, which is society, and all of us are bearing bad fruit. Then something is wrong with the tree. Something is wrong with society. Something is wrong with this box that they have placed us in. And this is why, you know, going back to the menu, this is why we have predators. This is why we have rape culture. This is why we have molestation at its highest. This is why, you know, sex trafficking is going on all across the world. This is why all these things are happening, because it is society, because it is tree. It's bearing all this bad fruit. So we're going to have to address these societal issues as well, you know. So man, that was a good segue into the conversation, or that was a good segue.
Thank you. And I appreciate you for the manner in which you elaborated on it, because we're at that pivotal point in this new paradigm, the paradigm shift being into now, and really the age, because now it's not that we are going to go like in order according to the menu, because we know on the menu we're going to be discussing societal issues. We're going to be discussing going within. We're going to be discussing energy. We're going to be discussing the effects of pornography. We're going to be discussing relationships. We're going to be discussing predators, and that goes right back to our young being easily preyed upon, you know, by predators, people who want to use them maliciously in a non-productive, exploitive manner. So these are the things that we have on the menu for today. We're also going to be looking at the etymologies of, you know, the language that we speak, coming from French, Latin, Middle English, you know, totally not our language. Okay, so we are totally absorbed into the language and tones and the like you said, the leaves on the tree. You see, there's bear good fruit, bad fruit, what the leaves are, what is the relationship to these words, the etymology, when we start using them as slang and in relationship to body parts, so on and so forth. So this is a very good start to how we're going to be bouncing around with this. Now, that topic, I'm so glad that you were brave enough when I sent you the topic, and you was like, let's do this.
Yeah.
You know, everybody else has kind of shied back from uh, that topic. And so, so we are trying to save our young, the youth, and put them going back in a productive direction of knowledge of self, going within, knowing who they are, et cetera, et cetera. So when you're dealing with the youth, and when you think about the menu and the topic of today, how do you approach trying to bring about some type of cohesiveness or complementary engagement? And I don't mean COMPLI, like I like what you wearing today and I like how you look. No, the COMPLE, the completeness, how they complete each other. How do you deal with the young girls when we're talking about pussy being common and virtue being rare? When you got to get them both thinking in that direction. Look, young ladies, if we're using slang, pussy is common, right? And otherwise, young men and there's got to be some virtue still maintained.
I got
Yeah.
you. I see what you're asking.
Mhm.
Me, I love the topic. When you sent me that topic, I was like, okay. To me, I looked at it as, but when we say pussy is common, I looked at it as we got to stop over sexualizing our women first and foremost. Like we all know, women have this, the mother of civilization within them. I know all women carry this power, this magic, this portal. And we have to understand that, we have to respect that, and we have to look at that as a way to respect and stop over sexualizing our women now, because of society, because of the music, because of the movies, because of what society has injected within us. We look at it as subjectively, and we look at women objectively as well. So we attack that. We glorify that. We perpetuate this cycle of putting out a certain type of energy that really plagues us in a sense, and that goes with pornography, that goes with things. And I wanted to read this statistic that I got from the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, and it says that the self-reported incidence of rape or sexual assault more than doubled from 1.4 victimizations per 1,000 persons aged 12 or older.
Wow.
So this is around the age that I'm working with, because I teach high school, so my students are from 13 to 18. So reading that statistic, I know that as I continue reading, it says that was the statistic back in 2017 and then double in 2018, and it was based off a survey that estimated that 734,630 people were raped, threatened, attempted, or completed in the United States. So knowing that statistic, I know that most of my students are coming in with problems. I know most of the youth that I mentor are dealing with internal problems, because some of them have been molested, some of them have been raped, some of them even been disrespected at a level where it ain't no healing from. You know what I mean? Unless somebody come in and really take that time and really give them the intervention that they need. But we're not getting that here in America. They just want you to go to class, pretend nothing is going on within your household, pretend nothing is happening at home. And when we speak about predators, some of those predators are our family members. and we don't speak up on those, on those people, our family, friends, we don't even speak up on these people. So it's very imperative that we make this knowledge known, and we all become aware of what's going on and what's causing it. We don't like to look at the cause of these problems that we all are dealing with, these conditions that we're dealing with. It's like we just wanted this to continue going, or sweep it under a rug, or try to avoid it. But we can no longer sit back and watch this happen. We can no longer sit back and watch these statistics grow. We're gonna have to decrease them. We're gonna have to expose it. One thing, in order to heal a wound, you're gonna have to expose it. You're gonna have to open it up. Then you're gonna have to add the element to it. Then you have to add the cream that's gonna heal that wound.
Solution, that
Yeah,
solution.
exactly.
I'm going to ask everyone that's coming into the room to please mute your microphones so that we don't get any background disturbances until you're ready to, the floor opens for you to interject. Or if you're not comfortable with that, then you can type any questions that you may have for myself or for our special guest speaker today, Anthony Crawford Jr., aka Proverb, co-host of Dope Poetry, and a lot of other things. So please keep your mics on mute. Um, so, you know, I'd like, and knowing that we have students, the youth that comes in who have been sodomized, molested, preyed upon by, whomever in their families, friends, strangers. Um, they've got a lot, and in addition to that going on in their reality, then how you as an educator, how are you dealing with that? Because you're conscious. I mean, how are you dealing with that when your students are like, what's being taught to them goes against the knowledge of self, and targeting specifically Black, African American, because we got a thing now, some of us, we're not Black. Okay. I'm going with that, right? Okay. We're not Black. We're this, we're that, we're this. Okay. We get that. But how are you dealing? How do you weave that together? How do you complement that with the knowledge of self for them, and then dealing with their internal chaos?
Yeah. One thing I realized about education is that we don't make it relatable. When I say we, I'm talking about the entire educational institution. This is why students go to class, they falling asleep, they don't care about what's their grades, because like they don't know, they don't identify what's being taught. So in my classroom, I allow them to identify. I say, why is it that there's colorism? Like, why is it that the people think there's team light skin, team dark skin? Why y'all think all this is happening? So, okay, well, let's take it back, because I know y'all didn't get this lesson in elementary. I know y'all not even gonna get this in middle school. So, but y'all came to the right class. It's because of slavery. Now, sex trafficking started with slavery. Rape, molestation started with slavery. These are the things that have been, perpetuated within, and it started with slavery. So I teach slavery in my class. I teach them about epistemology, meaning that the diseases and what else do they say? And addictions can run in your family, so can trauma. So we're dealing with, years upon years of psychological brutality and trauma that our ancestors had to deal with. Because our genes, our DNA, it carried messages. It carried those events within. Our blood tells stories.
Yes.
So, I tell the kid, like, have you ever just woke up mad for no reason? I don't know why you mad, or have you ever just felt fearful out of nowhere? These are the things that have been taught to us. These are the things that we have been accepted, because of what happened to our ancestors. And many of us don't even know our ancestors. So it's just like what Marcus Garvey said: a tree without its roots, is they don't know. It's like we don't know exactly what happened to us, where we come from. So without that piece of information, a lot of us is lost. A lot of us are lost. So I have to give them that knowledge. I have to give them that piece of information that they're missing. or they'll forever go through this society or maneuver through this society thinking that government officials and politicians are on their side. You know what I mean? They'll go through society thinking that these businesses really have their well-being in their interest, when really they're just out for the money, or they're out to look at them and make them into a slave. So they
Right.
work for them for 40 plus years, doing the same exact things over and over and over and driving themselves insane. So it's time to remove the reveal from the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been hiding the truth forever. We're
Right.
no longer going to hide it.
Right. And this has contributed greatly to the decay that's going on in our communities, which made it so easy for gentrification to come through. Because our communities themselves, you know, are falling into desolation.
Mhm.
So something needed to come through to revitalize them. However, I think what we need to do is definitely revitalize these minds of our young Black youth, so that then they will in turn turn around, and it helps to catapult them in such a manner that they can turn around and reclaim their hood, you know, one block at a time. And because they're going to have now, they're going to have to deal with coexisting with the presence of, should I say, the oppressors, the descendants of the oppressors, who are now coming back in. You know, it's kind of like a crusade. You know, when we look at history, those holy wars. You know how when one specific culture would take over, and then the other one would come back. You know, especially dealing with Catholicism and those, you know, crusades that produced the Templars and the Rosicrucians, and you know, so it's a reenactment of the very same thing upon the original inhabitants of this planet and its descendants. So it's become generational. You know, they're never going to give it up.
Yeah, it's like we're going in circles and in loops.
Mhm.
And the only thing that's changing is the name, but the power structure, the way the society works, is all has been the same.
Yes.
So that's powerful.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
You took it deeper.
Yes. So I wanted to, as we continue to deal with the societal issues of our young children, who are the inheritance, not some far off distant, you know, in the future, because like you said, the circle is simultaneous. The only one that knows where the circle begins and ends is the one who initiated the dot. Okay, so in keeping with our topic, I wanted to go and read a little bit about the etymology of puss, from puss to pussy. And this is the online etymology dictionary. And it starts out with puss and dealing with cat back in the 1520s, but probably much older than the record, perhaps imitative of the hissing sound commonly used to get a cat's attention, or the noise made by the cat in hissing. The same or similar sound is a conventional name for a cat in Germanic languages. And we get a lot of our words. Gott is Germanic, you know, it's German, from other European cultures, you know. And I think what we have to realize as the original people is we are not speaking our language. If you're speaking any type of European language and the derivative of it, it's not your language. So they have given terms to things that we didn't even have words for. Okay. Which is why when you talk about how rape and all of that has become, when it came into existence, or it could even began to be spoken upon. Um, a lot of it traces back to European culture, and there are offshoots and branches. But let me tell you now, it says that uh, as far off as Afghanistan, it is the root of the principal word for cat in Romanian, uh, pisica, and secondary words in Lithuanian, puss, word used for calling a cat, Low German, puss, Swedish dialect, catipus, Irish, pusin, a kitty cat. Then it began to be applied to a girl or a woman around the 1600s, originally in a negative sense, implying unpleasant cat-like qualities. But by the mid 19th century, in affectionate use, the little puss, So that's just, I wanted to give some etymology as to how this topic, pussy, is common, has its origin. It came from the usage of something else applying to an animal, and then at a particular time in European culture and history. Now remember, now we've got the institution of patriarchy. Okay, so a lot of the derogative terms that are used for women today stems from patriarchy, and it's European. And like you said at the very beginning, that over sexualizing our women. So, give me some, weave in and complement the fact of the etymology of it, the over sexualizing of the female, and the men, and putting that in the minds of men, of how women ought to be treated and looked upon within our young Black youth.
I love that. I love how you set this up, Oracle, because we know that words hold energy, right?
Yes.
So with that being said, you are definitely right about the English language. We were definitely beaten and killed to learn this language. To take on the master's names, to take on the master's last names. Um, and over time, this language that we've been speaking, regardless of the intention, they all have meaning. So over time, words change over time. Well, the meaning, not the meaning, but the energy of a word changes over time. So just like, and this is just part of being who we are as a people. We're known to take certain words and give them our own meaning. We give them our own definition and make it mean however we want it to mean. So when it comes to over sexualizing women, we gotta understand that at some point we took on the masters, the oppressors, views and words, and we continue that on. We perpetuated it. Like the word pussy. I grew up listening to Uncle Luke and the Two Loud Crew. Hey, we want some pussy, but not knowing that when you're watching those videos, when you're singing those songs, when you're singing these words, when you're using these words, and these words are putting out a certain type of energetic frequency, and that frequency, it embodies who we are once we're using these words, once we believe in these words, and it transforms us in a sense, and that's where the rape culture came from. That's where over sexualizing women came from, looking at women as object, misogyny. These are things that were going on during slavery as well. It's just on a whole different type of platform now, because back then, they were getting away with these things because they were owners, but nowadays, we perpetuate the cycle and we continue to disrespect the women. We continue the misogynistic look. We continue to over sexualize our women, even for, when it comes to rape, just because a woman, wears a certain things or acts a certain way doesn't give you the right to want to rape her. Like that is totally wrong, and I read a book called The Four Agreements, and it's talk about how words are impeccable.
Yes.
Our words are impeccable. The words we use are very impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be careful with these words. We need to look up the etymology of these words and understand where these words come from and the true definition of these words and the energy and the true energy of these words.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the movie that Denzel Washington played in? What was it called? Was it called Fallen or something? Where the spirit was so, and I call it a Rupa, an Ethereal spirit. You know, kind of like on Hellboy. It's a conscious, like a conscious gas, and it can go inside, and whatever it went inside of, it enlivened, and was able to create, to live out an existence. So when we talk about the energies of these words that placate our being, our mental, spiritual soul. See, because now we get into, there are many spirits and everything has a spirit. Not every, and I know we get some rebuttal with that, but not everything and everyone has a soul, you know. So that's why you have humankind. They're kind of like the original man, the original woman. So they're hued people, kind of like you and I. But so then we get into which is another societal issue, equality. Uh, you have where the the woman, the Black woman, we never had to fight for equality with our men, because our men are, they accepted the fact that we were superior to them in the sense of they came from us. See, because now we got to deal with genetics.
We were made in her image.
In her image and likeness, because this is where true bisexuality has existence. The female is the only true bisexual being on this planet, because she carries that, the mitochondria of the double X and the XY. Not and this is not to justify or give rise to homosexuality, lesbianism, blah blah blah. It's to understand. So I don't want anybody out in the, you know, the listening audience that is a supporter of the LG. I might get your letters wrong. Forgive me. Okay, I'm just saying, in keeping with what my special guest is bringing out when we talk about the energy of words. I want to read something right quick and see what this is going to spark in you, in keeping with our topic and our menu. And I got this off of Instagram from Comedic Appliances. Meaning of the word sir. You call everybody by title sir. You know, in other words, do you know what is meant by the word sir? SIR. It says slave I remain. The British during their rule wanted all Indians to address them as sir. Now, Indians, I don't know if they mean in the true Indians from India, because honestly, people, there are no Indians here in America. There are Native Americans. They're not Indians because they ain't from India. Okay. I know we probably got a rebuttal coming from that. I'm glad you're on here with me, Proverb. Anyway, it says, even after 69 years of independence, we still keep calling everyone sir. Even the American president is addressed as Mr. President, not sir. So many people do not know the real meaning of the word and think it is an address with respect. Frankly, even this person said they didn't know. I didn't know. Spread this mess. Is, you know, it talks about spreading it fast. So anyway, there's the matriarch Erica Howard, hailing from Houston, Texas, popped on, and I greet you today. You know the topic. Definitely she knows the topic, proverb. She was going to be your compliment for the day. And she's got a lot of background things going on in her world right now, so she couldn't, but I'm glad she's showing her face. So the two of you can eyeball each other. Erica, meet Anthony Crawford Jr.
Hi, peace, Anthony.
Peace, sister, peace.
Yeah, he's originally from Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah, and he transplanted here and decided to stay here. And he came here for me. That's foolishness. No, but that's who that's Mr. Crawford. See, I said Mr. like Mr. President, like what I just read. So just to bring you up to speed, Erica, and then we're gonna let Anthony come back in and deal with the energies of words, societal issues, their attachment, and how through us we give them existence. We began to act them out after what, Anthony, would you say, centuries of taking on the mannerisms of being of the masters after being enslaved and it being beaten into us, and now it becomes genetically ingrained. Our blood is confused.
That's real.
So we talked about the etymology, looking at the word puss, what it meant, and then over the what century and everything that the Europeans began to utilize that word in reference to the female, and most derogatory terms stem from European cultures and the language and patriarchy and so on and so forth. So and I'm going to bounce back and forth, but I'm talking to the same person, whether y'all hear me call him Anthony or y'all hear me call him Proverb.
Proverb, yeah.
Yeah. And also he's call him scriptures. So now after reading, what does it say? Slave I remain. And what you were talking about, the words having energies and the us over sexualizing our women in terms of, you know, misogyny and how it came into being. But you're dealing with youth and they don't know all of this.
Yeah.
And they're coming into your classrooms with all of this real live, you know, we parlay between what's an illusion and what's a reality. It is
Right.
a reality that they've been sodomized, raped. Some of them are already homeless, you know, just to get away from that toxic existence that they try to come to school and you know, you want them to sit there and learn what? English? Because you're an English teacher, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
So see, it is very imperative for you to dissect
Right.
the poison, you know, to get to the root of the matter, the sap, because you can put a seed in the ground and it can have roots, but there's the roots are there to absorb something. If you, it's no use in having roots if you ain't, it don't get no water, you know. So to create the sap and everything. So what would you say in dealing with young women and trying to get them to understand their behavior when it appears to have no virtue, when engaging, you know, their activities with the young men, and how they want to be respected and how they think they're equal, when the, you know, they're superior, but you don't want them to think that they're superior as in to oppress their male counterparts. What do you, how do you deal with that, Anthony? What are you doing?
Right now, I just ask questions. You know, the root word in the word questions is quest. So let's go on a journey.
Right.
I need to understand where this stuff came from, and I can take you to the past. You know, even with the word bitch, You know, hey, why do we call women bitches? Why do we call each other bitches? Like, what's the root of this word? Where did this word come from? When did we start using this so derogatory? Oh, because back in slavery they had sex farm, and they will rape our women. In matter of fact, they will choose mates to mate with women, just so they can get bigger and better niggers. You know what I'm saying? Better workers. You know, so they termed the word bitch because a black woman will carry these babies just like a pregnant female dog would. You know, so these are the things that I'm teaching them in class. You know, and how words change over time, and how we just perpetuate the cycle. Going back to that loop we was talking about earlier, and I asked them, like, do you want to continue this cycle? You know, and I just opening their minds from that angle and teaching them, like, hey, like, you know, our mothers, our sisters, our grannies, they were raped, they were sold, they were treated as property. Like, how does that make you feel? What do you do knowing this information and knowing that this stuff is still trying to go on to today? So it's all about just exposing them to these things, because they're not being exposed to, they're not learning them at home. And go ahead, Eric.
Thank you. Thank you. And I agree with that. But I also question, do I have a lot of background noise in my
No, you sound like you're in a
hollow room?
yes, you know, there's not enough something in there to absorb the sound, but you're clear.
Okay.
You're
Okay.
clearly.
Anthony, do you believe that we do have the ability to change the intention of words used? So I know that there was a song that Lupe Fiasco came out with, you know, like, bitch is bad, woman's good. But I mean, if we can honestly change the intention of a word, do you think that's possible? Bitch will become a good word, and because that's how they look at it now.
Yeah, and that's what we was talking about earlier as well.
Okay.
Like how words tend to change over time.
Yeah.
And we're known for you know, taking certain words, like the word nigger, you know, taking certain words and giving it a positive meaning, changing the intention of the meaning. You know, but what my concern is, you know, does that change the energy? Because we change the intention of the word, does that change the energy of the word? Does that change what happens whenever we're using that word?
Right.
You know, and what I think I've noticed about society, and now what we talked about earlier, it's like, you know, do you blame the computer or do you blame the manufacturer? You know, and we was talking about how, you know, a tree, if a tree is good, you can tell by its fruit. You know, does it produce good fruit or does it produce bad fruit? Well, we're in America. Here in America, this tree of America has been producing bad fruit. So okay, so is it America who's creating these rapists? Is it America who's creating these predators? Is it America who teaches us to prey on our youth? Who is doing this? How are we obtaining these conditions? You know, is it mind programming? What's really going on? And we have to expose that if we really want to see a change. You know, starting with the youth. You know, because I feel like even with adults, you know, Frederick A. Douglass said it's better to rebuild stronger children to repair broken men.
Yes.
You know, I literally have given up on adults. I just there's no saving them. You know, most of them are stuck in their ways. They don't want to read. They don't want to do nothing. So okay, well, let me take this to the youth, because they're our last hope. At this point in our life, they're our last hope. So this is why I teach the things I teach in my class, just to expose it. You know, I don't think I can change anything or anyone, but I think that, you know, like Tupac said, if I can just spark that brain, if I can just spark your brain, hey, somebody will take it and run with it, and or come as a collective to change the world.
Exactly. Absolutely.
That was a good question. That was a good question, though. That was a good question.
Very good question, matriarch. The touching on some things, like you said, do we blame the computer or do we blame the manufacturer? Is it America that's producing all of these ills that act themselves out within the existence of a physical being? And I want to remind us now, the so-called white Americans or Caucasians, and that's a mixture. Those from the Caucasus Mountains mixing in with the Asians, Caucasians. So you have two mixtures of two different species of human beings, humanity, uh, you know, interracially merging. So maybe this also has something to do with our ancestors wanting to keep pure bloods. And like if you mentioned something about the Bible proverb, when you know how it talks about in the Bible where all the tree thing comes out, um, why the gods in the Bible talked about not mixing, you know, don't go mix with this particular tribe, don't mix with, because we've got to maintain a pure
Mhm.
blood, meaning a pure genetic, because we're talking about a genetic. They our ancestors knew all too well what mixing and integrating and merging, um that's an experiment in itself, you know. So when we walk around and we look at we call them now white people, and if we say Caucasian, we're actually addressing a hybrid. They're hybrids, okay? And anytime
My
okay,
bad. That's funny. That's
you know
funny.
what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, and in America, to become an American, if you're not, because they're aliens to America, the country, you know, itself, uh because the Native Americans was already here, because Christopher didn't really discover anything in his route to try to find the route fastest to get to the spices. Ain't that right, Anthony? He was
You
trying to
already
find a
know.
spice route. uh anyway, so now we have Great Britain, or the, you know, Europe, emptying out its dungeons of its most ill repute,
Mhm.
non-virtuous, you know, that they had discarded and put them on a ship and just, and they came around the world with all you know, a lot of their devious natures, landing here, bringing disguising blankets as gifts, and loaded with smallpox, and then they decimated a whole tribe, literally a whole population of people with gonorrhea and syphilis and different, and people, these are facts. Don't,
Right,
I'm not being racist.
right,
We're not being racist right now, are we, Anthony? We are simply, this is recorded history. Uh,
right.
and this is what the children are aware of now, even in your class, Anthony. And that's why I say I hold you to the highest of accountability, because you're there dealing with our last great line of defense. And if you don't get it right, well, and we shall continue. Uh, sis, and for anybody else that's joining, look, the menu: pussy is common, virtue is rare. The menu was introduced by you, Anthony. So run us through that menu again, so that people are kind of understand how we're having to go around this way, around that way, and in this way and that. What's the menu, Anthony?
We talked about rape culture. We talked about predators. We talked about molestation. We talked about societal issues. We talked about energy. We talked about words. Only things we're left with is the virtue aspect. And I want to bring in social media and pornography, because, you know, social media and pornography, they give off a certain energy. So
Yes,
we're on social media, or when we're watching pornography, we're taking on a
yeah,
certain energy. Now, what is that energy, and what does that energy do to our psyche? Oh, man, I have no
right.
idea. But growing up, I know that what pornography did for me, you know, other than over sexualization of women, it taught me how to have sex, you know, all the wrong sex at that. So, so
The effects of pornography.
Right.
yeah, and it took a book that I read 2 years ago. You know, I'm 31. Just imagine me learning how to really have sex at 29. You know, it took me a book that I read. It was by Osho. It's called Sex Matters.
Yeah.
And it taught me. You know, that book made me go celibate for 9 months.
Yeah.
I said 9. I was trying to go for a year, but I slipped up, and then I went back to it. But
Understand.
it made me go celibate. I said, wait a minute, I need to take a whole, you know, a whole twist and turn. You know, I was a low key addicted to watching pornography. I had to I ain't gonna say stop doing that, but I made an attempt to really stop watching that. Because I knew what the effects it was having on my psyche, that's mind, body, and my spirit. And then going to social media. You know, when we're on social media, all we see is models, rappers, and a bunch of twerks going on social media. So I'm taking on that energy as well. And then social media psychologically makes you compare your lifestyle to other people. So here you are losing the sense of reality through social media. And it just, you know, you're creating all these chemicals within you, and then you just never know how you're going to respond to these things, you know. I thank God that I've never molested anyone. I thank God that I never raped anyone. I thank God, but you know, I did have some ways where, like, you know, I did send some illicit pictures to women without them asking. You know, this is just me owning my own faults. I've done some things that were predator like. I preyed on women that I wanted to have sex with. You know, these are things that I was responding to because of a society that I was living in. You know, and no one gave me these conversations when I was younger. No one talked to me about these things. No one made these things aware that I was taking on these energies, that I was becoming who I was becoming because of these energies. So we have to understand the value of virtue, going to the virtue. Now, when you understand or are aware of these things and you're conscious of what these things may do to you, that's when you got to develop that patience. That's when you got to start healing. Now, you notice how America, they talk about voting, but nobody wants to talk about healing.
Right.
You know, America gives you the problem.
Yes.
And try to sell you the solution, but they don't want to heal you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is type of